There's been several incidents throughout the world where we have this actual scenario play out. When there's multiple people to be rescued, there's not a lot of thought that goes into it. You just rescue who you can. Here's the unfortunate part about our job, is that we are going to run in. Hey everybody, Chris the Cop here. I'm in Gamology Studios with another Experts React video game. What are we gonna play today? We're gonna play Modern Warfare Call of Duty. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. And if you want instant notification, hit that bell icon. And if you definitely enjoyed this episode, give me a thumbs up so they call me back.
White van, multiple military-age males, weapons visible, moving to intercept.
Roger. Men's attack is imminent. Do not engage.
Police, freeze! Get your hands up now! Get down on the ground!
They finally are going to go after that van, and the guys jump out of it, and they're not cooperating. That's one of the first alerts that I get, is that you have a group of people not getting down to the ground, as well as civilians getting in your way.
Get down on the ground!
Obviously, the gameplay is supposed to move forward, and the van's supposed to take off with the exploding, causing, the terrorist attack. When people sometimes are Monday night quarterbacking these real-life events of why are the police or military, they're putting these people down fast, is because they have the potential of causing harm. If they're on the ground, handcuffed or zip-tied, they're not a threat. We want to get them down to the ground to reduce the possibility of anything else happening. As we see here, they're distracted, the van takes off, explodes, and then we have the firefight. Pretty intense as far as, that it looked like we only had a small group, and then we have a firefight from all different types of angles. As we know, this is taking place in England, so a special team would have to be activated to come out that have the weapons, because regular, I think they're referred to as bobbies, but the regular police officers on the beat are not armed. The special unit comes out, and that would have to be activated type of thing. So we probably would see more death and carnage until that team finally got there. When we look at the London Bridge incident, it was that elite team that finally got on scene that was able to neutralize those suspects. When there's multiple people to be rescued, there's not a lot of thought that goes into it. You just rescue who you can. It's quick second assessments that are happening. When it happens, when you're in the actual fight, and this is, I'll paint you a different picture, but when you're in actual fight, you're not thinking about what the aftermath of that's gonna look like. When things are all settled and it's all done, and now you're alone, that's when this replays back in your mind. Could you have done more? Should you have done more? Could you have saved that other person? I backtracked that to this, as I mentioned before. Being a paramedic, I've been in this situation where I had multiple people shot, multiple people victims of a bad traffic accident, and because of my resources, I had to decide who was going to get those resources, who was going to get the air ambulance to the trauma center, who was going to go to the local hospital, which ones we weren't even going to look at because we had these people here. When you're in the middle of all that, you just do your job. But it's after, when you're home alone and there's no stimulus to keep your mind from starting to think about those things, that's when you start thinking about those people that you couldn't save, and you wonder, could I have saved more? I've had a couple of colleagues that actually committed suicide, and on their suicide notes they said they could not deal with the screaming anymore. Two of them put that, could not deal with the screaming anymore of the people they couldn't save. So that's where it plays out on this later on down the line. When you're in the middle of it, you're in the middle of it, but later on, when we're looking at this particular scene and everyone's running everywhere and there's this chaos and carnage everywhere, our rules of engagement still are in play. And you see it in the video at the end. Once peace has been restored, the main character even says, hey, these rules of engagement are not working for us. Yeah, you know what? That's just the way it is. There's been several incidents throughout the world where we have this actual scenario play out. We had, like I said, we had the London Bridge stabbing. Once they stabbed those few people and then they drove the van, and the van crashed into the coffee shop, and then those people came out to try to help the people in the van, and all of a sudden they're being stabbed by the terrorists because they didn't realize the terrorists are in that van, and then the terrorists break off and start going through the neighborhoods of downtown London. Mass hysteria, carnage, people getting stabbed and they're dying. But if you are the heroes coming in, you gotta be sure you're neutralizing the right people. And that's why sometimes we have to wait for someone to shoot at us. We have to sometimes wait for that gun to come up. We gotta see them, maybe if they're armed with a knife, that they're right about to actively hurt someone or hurt myself or my partners. Unfortunately, we have to react based upon the suspect's reaction. And we should hopefully not be hitting any of the civilians running around. Are they gonna get in our way? Yes, but they're just doing what they have always done, trying to look for cover, trying to find that safe place. They're trying to look for officers in uniforms because they figure an officer in uniform is going to protect them. So they're going to be running around all over the place. And that's why we have to be sure that we are neutralizing the right people. In this scenario, we can see that someone has some type of vest on. It could be an explosive vest. We're going to assume it's an explosive vest and they're asking for help.
Tell me I'm not one of them!
Here's the unfortunate part about our job is that we are going to run in. If you go back to, and I would just go back to 9/11. When people were running out of the towers, you had groups of firefighters, police officers, and paramedics running into the towers. Obviously, no one had ever thought that the towers would collapse, but in the back of your mind, you know this can be it, especially when you have a situation like this. And it doesn't even have to be this large of a situation. Whenever I'm on duty and I'm with my officers and we're actually chasing somebody, in the back of my mind, it plays saying, this could be it. This could be the one. I may not be going home tonight. That's always in the back of anybody who's in public safety that deals with trying to rescue people like this. So we're gonna still go in. We're gonna try to clear those corners to make it as safe as it can be for us, and then deal with the situation once we get to the top. Whatever situation presents itself to us, we'll reevaluate and then decide what our next step is going to be. And as we see in our gameplay, we saw what the next step was going to be, and I don't know. That'd be a tough decision. I was actually thinking, why don't we just start grabbing all the hostages and bring them down the stairs? But obviously he thought a little bit differently. Maybe we would not have been able to rescue as many hostages. I didn't get a full 360-degree view of the room to count how many people were in this room, as well as did they have the inability to be able to get up and walk. That's going to also play into what we do in this particular situation.
Room is clear. Prep medical, we're coming up. Hey, everybody, stay calm. We're gonna get you out of here. You broken?
I'm good.
In this modern warfare scene, yes, this can be a very realistic scene. You gotta remember, in our world today, there are groups of people who just want to bring harm to other people. This gameplay stuff is actually becoming, unfortunately, more realistic to what is happening in our world today. So that's kind of a sad thing to say, but the game developers are getting kind of the stuff right when it comes to some of this stuff. When you don't allow your body to get over these traumatic events and you keep them inside, you don't talk to your friends and family about them, you could become an angry, bitter person. And that can play out later on down the line, where if you're in the field and someone comes across, you may come across rude, you may come across angry,